Echoes of Hidden Earth, Chapter 2. The Shadow's Gaze. The following days saw Dr. Eliot Rowan consumed by the irregular data, his instincts telling him that he was on the brink of something monumental. He worked tirelessly, cross-referencing historical satellite data with his own, and the pattern held, a symphony of gravitational undulations that seemed to dance to an unseen conductor's baton. A breakthrough came when he overlaid the gravitational map with ancient mariner charts he found in the university's archives. The anomalies corresponded with locations that, according to legend, were once considered the dwellings of the gods, now dismissed as myths or simple folklore. Eliot's pulse quickened. It was as if these mythical places had left an echo in the Earth's gravitational field. He needed to share this with Ava, Marcus, and Nadia. At their next meeting, Eliot's excitement was palpable. "Look at this," he said, spreading out the charts beside his laptop. "Every point on my graph aligns with the ancient sites of power: Avalon, Shambhala, Agartha." Ava's eyes narrowed, analyzing the data. "This can't be a coincidence, but what does it mean?" Marcus leaned in, his interest clearly piqued. "I've read theories about Earth having layers of history, hidden from our view. Could these places be more than myths?" Nadia, ever cautious, interjected. "If we're going to explore this, we need more evidence. We can't base our research on legends." The group agreed. They would each delve into their respective fields, seeking anomalies that might support Eliot's findings. They set a deadline to reconvene in 1 month. As the weeks passed, each scientist encountered hints and whispers of a hidden world. Ava observed astronomical alignments that couldn't be explained by current models. Marcus found geological strata that suggested unnatural formations. Nadia's climate models showed inexplicable variations at certain locations around the globe. When they gathered again, the air was thick with anticipation. Each presented their findings, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. The data was irrefutable. There was something out there, a truth hidden by time and the Shadow Regent's manipulations. Eliot's gaze connected with each of his colleagues. "We need to find out what's being hidden from us," he declared. "It's clear now. We're being kept inside a carefully crafted illusion. But why? And what lies beyond?" Ava was the first to nod. "We're with you, Eliot. Let's uncover the truth." Marcus smiled wryly. "I'm in. After all, what's life without a little adventure?" Nadia sighed, the scientist in her wrestling with the implications. "All right, but we proceed with caution." The decision was made. They would form an expedition to one of the locations where the gravitational anomalies were strongest, but they would have to be discreet. The Shadow Regents had eyes and ears everywhere. As the group's meeting disbanded and the cafe emptied, Dr. Alan Beck lingered at his table, his mind a turmoil of conflict. He had overheard enough to understand that Eliot and his colleagues were onto something unconventional, something dangerous perhaps. They were talking about myths as if they were real, planning an expedition that could only end in ridicule or worse. Alan's hand hovered over his phone. He knew he had to report this. It wasn't just about upholding scientific integrity anymore, it was about safety. The Shadow Regents did not take kindly to those who probed too deeply into the world's mysteries. With a sigh that felt like a weight settling on his chest, he dialed a number memorized long ago but never used. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was cautious. "It's Beck, Alan Beck. We need to talk. It's about Rowan and his team," Alan whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "Understood. Keep an eye on them. Report any progress. We'll handle the rest," the voice replied before the line went dead. Alan sat there, the phone heavy in his hand. He had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. In the weeks that followed, The team worked with a sense of urgency that bordered on the feverish. Eliot found himself returning to the notion that every second mattered, that every delay was a victory for the invisible forces arrayed against them. To combat their increasing isolation, the team began to hold their meetings in the open, in places where prying ears would suspect a casual gathering rather than a clandestine operation. Park benches, public libraries, and bustling marketplaces became their new conference rooms. Ava, with her knack for digital espionage, had taken to creating false trails, dummy email accounts, and encrypted messages hidden in plain sight. "If they want to watch us," she declared one afternoon as they sat around a chessboard in the park, "let's give them a show." Marcus, the man of the earth, took to the physical preparations. He procured specialized cold-weather gear from various sources, each purchase untraceable to the next. The equipment was stashed at a rented storage unit under a pseudonym, each visit to the unit carefully staggered to avoid pattern recognition. Nadia worked her contacts, securing old maps and texts that weren't available online or were deemed too arcane for digital cataloging. She spent long nights poring over meteorological patterns, identifying the window of opportunity they needed to make their journey with the least natural resistance. Their pilot, a grizzled veteran of the skies named Captain Lyle Hammond, was a man of few words. His plane, a sturdy workhorse from a bygone era, was just as reliable as its owner. He asked no questions, requiring only the coordinates and the payment. "I don't need to know what you're up to," he said, the corners of his eyes crinkling. "Just that you know what you're doing." Eliot appreciated the man's discretion. He knew the stakes were high, and having someone like Hammond on their side was a stroke of good fortune. Meanwhile, the pressure on Alan Beck was mounting. The Shadow Regents expected results, and his reports were growing thin. They wanted assurances that the situation was under control. Beck found himself fabricating details, buying time for his colleagues while he wrestled with his conscience. The day of departure loomed over them like a specter. They double-checked their lists, ran through their plans, and prepared contingencies. Yet, in the quiet moments of solitude, each member of the team felt the weight of the unknown bearing down on them. The night before they were set to leave, they gathered at Eliot's home one last time. The mood was somber, yet resolute. "We may be walking into the unknown," Eliot said, his voice steady, "but we walk together. Remember, no matter what happens, we're doing this for the pursuit of truth." Ava looked at each of her companions, her usual stoicism giving way to a rare show of emotion. "We've come this far. There's no turning back now." Marcus clapped his hands together, a grin breaking across his face. "Let's find our hidden world." Nadia nodded, her eyes reflecting the gravity of their mission. To the edge of the map, and beyond. With their resolve fortified, they parted ways for the night, knowing that the next time they met, it would be on the threshold of the greatest adventure of their lives. As the chapter closes, Eliot sits alone reviewing the map of gravitational anomalies that started it all. He traces the path they will take and whispers to himself, "Here there will be dragons,